I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
Of America, you are, by definition, a criminal, and so therefore you are subject to deportation.
What'd she say?
She basically said that they were going to give unqualified.
God, how boring!
Unqualified people.
Did Karoline Leavitt just shut down The View for good? After her shocking remarks and the wild reactions from the hosts, it's safe to say she sent everyone on the roof. Her take on the press room and her bold words about no wokeness had Joy react back, and that is when the whole table turned. But is this the first time The View is doing this? No, right. So let me tell you what exactly happened.
Still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal.
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking though, he said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So
Karoline Leavitt is a political figure and a rising star in conservative politics. At just 26 years old, she has already made a name for herself as a strong, unapologetic voice for Trump's movement. Before becoming the White House press secretary, she worked as a spokeswoman for his campaign and previously served in the Trump administration. Her appointment to the press secretary role was a bold move, signaling Trump's commitment to reshaping how media access works in his administration. So, when Leavitt took the stage at the White House, she wasn't just another government spokesperson reading from a script. She was there to make a statement, and she did exactly that.
Medicaid, is that affected?
I gave you a list of examples: Social Security, Medicare, welfare benefits, food stamps that will not be impacted by this federal pause.
Leavitt made it clear that the way the press room operates was about to change in a big way. She proudly announced that Trump's administration was opening up media access, allowing more journalists, influencers, and independent reporters to cover White House briefings. According to her, this was about handing out press passes and breaking the monopoly of mainstream networks that have controlled the narrative for years. She said that the previous administration had shut out certain voices, revoking press credentials and limiting access to only those deemed acceptable by traditional media gatekeepers. But under Trump, that was over. She promised that a new media landscape was on the rise, one where independent voices, online commentators, and even influencers would get the chance to ask questions, challenge narratives, and bring fresh perspectives to the room. One thing was obvious: Leavitt had just rocked the media world, and The View? Oh, they were absolutely not having it.
That they were going to give unqualified.
God, how boring!
Unqualified
Can they get
people
somebody there
jobs.
not so
Behind
tedious?
the Table podcast needs to apply for White House credentials.
Joy Behar, never one to hold back, wasted no time ripping into Leavitt's announcement. Instead of debating the merits of the press room changes, she dismissed the whole thing completely, calling it boring, as if it wasn't even worth taking seriously. But hold on, she didn't stop here and went way further. Behar took a direct shot at Karoline herself, saying that the real reason she got the job had nothing to do with her qualifications or experience. Nope, according to Joy, Leavitt was only hired because Trump thinks she's attractive. She even threw in that Leavitt is a perfect 10, implying that her looks, not her skills, got her one of the most important jobs in the White House.
To bust down that door.
By the way,
to
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job.
Yes, she actually said that. And well, the internet exploded, obviously. The backlash was so brutal, people across social media, both conservative and neutral viewers, called out Behar for her hypocrisy. Because let's be real, if a conservative host had made the exact same comment about a female Democrat, the outrage would have been loud. There would have been headlines, Twitter meltdowns, and endless debates about sexism and misogyny in politics. But now, the same people who claim to support women's empowerment were suddenly silent. No outrage, no backlash, just crickets.
I got a question.
So wait a second. So in other words, instead of Bob Woodward, they want Kim Kardashian? What? I don't get it.
Wait, okay.
I have a question, which is why I was leading us in this direction.
Yeah.
Behar's words weren't just mean, it exposed a major double standard. And people noticed that. But she wasn't the only one mocking at her. Whoopi jumped in, and let's just say, she crossed the line as well.
Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because...
While Joy was already mad enough, Whoopi Goldberg found something else to rage about. The moment Leavitt said, "There will be no wokeness here," Whoopi launched into full-on lecture mode. She went off about how wokeness paved the way for women, especially women of color, to have opportunities in politics and media. In her eyes, rejecting wokeness is erasing history.
The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness.
But conservatives weren't buying it. To them, woke has become a meaningless buzzword that gets thrown around whenever someone wants to push a political agenda. They argued that Whoopi twisted Leavitt's words to make it sound like she was against civil rights, when in reality, Leavitt was just saying she wanted the focus to be on running the country, not identity politics. And guess what? Instead of rallying behind Whoopi's speech, people mocked her for turning a simple statement into a dramatic history lesson. The biggest question floating around, is this really the time and place for this debate? People had a lot to say to them, especially Whoopi. Have a look. She must have been killing it back in school with those essays with word count requirements. Whoopi is a genius at saying nothing in so many words. Whoopi needs to get tougher skin if the term woke pissed her off. Now that's rude, isn't it? But well, The View gets these a lot, so it's not like they care about it. But you know who cares? People. And just when you thought it's enough, Sarah, Alyssa, and Sunny jump in. Did anybody call for their opinions? I guess not.
And I think future Democratic administrative White Houses should do the same thing. We're realizing this election, how people consume media has drastically changed. This was the Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Alex Cooper election.
Sarah Haynes and Alyssa Farah Griffin weren't as dramatic, but they still had opinions. Alyssa, having worked in Trump's White House before, admitted it was a smart media move to include independent voices. She even called it the Joe Rogan election because people are getting their news from influencers, not just mainstream outlets. Sarah backed that up, saying social media is the new way Americans stay informed.
The problem that I have with it, though, is, she's saying that these people that are going to apply will meet their criteria. We understand that their criteria is woefully deficient and unserious.
And then came Sunny Hostin, because she had to throw in her 2 cents. And, oh boy, she did not hold back.
Traditionally, to become a White House correspondent or to be in that briefing room, you had to have a journalism degree.
Yeah.
You had to have qualifications. Yeah. So I guess the rise of mediocrity is here to stay.
She actually dismissed Leavitt's announcement as a joke, calling it the rise of mediocrity. In her mind, letting influencers and independent media into the White House press room was just lowering the bar. According to her, real journalism should be left to the professionals, not YouTubers, podcasters, or bloggers. But here's the real question. Does mainstream media even have the credibility to make that claim anymore? People's reactions were wild on this. I mean, is legacy media even trustworthy? Sunny's words did not sit right with a lot of people, and they let her know it. Many called her out for acting like mainstream media is the only source of real news, when, in reality, they've been caught twisting narratives, pushing political agendas, and ignoring major stories for years. Sunny and Whoopi need to be sued for years of defamation. Sunny, stop hating, man. At least talk sense one time. Can you talk about your family scam? Well, the comments just keep going until we stop ourselves. And Whoopi's final warning came after all.
As I disagree that people got stuff wrong. I don't know what people were looking for, because the people I talked to were not looking for the things that these folks were looking for. And
by the end of the segment, Whoopi tried to backtrack a bit, saying she wasn't totally against change, but was concerned about standards in journalism. She warned that if influencers turn press briefings into content farms, it could be dangerous.
There's too much BS floating out there, and now it's out of our hands. There's no way to control it, so now they're saying they're going to control it. I want to see what they're going to do.
Saying this after creating the bias themselves is wild, isn't it? But here's the real question. Is this really about journalism, or is it about power? The reaction from The View made one thing clear. They don't like losing control of the narrative. Traditional media has spent years deciding who gets to ask the questions, who gets to shape the stories, and who gets a platform. But with Karoline Leavitt opening the doors to new voices, their monopoly is breaking apart, and they hate it. So, what do you think? Did Karoline Leavitt just change the media game forever? And did The View just expose themselves as outdated and out of touch? Let me know your thoughts, and if you like this breakdown, hit that subscribe button, because this conversation is far from over.